This is a tutorial on how to use Adobe Photoshop. This is for Adobe Photoshop 2020, not any other photoshopping service like services like Photopea and other things. This is just Adobe Photoshop 2020. To start, you want to create your image, and you do that by clicking Create New, and then I would recommend to start creating a 5" by 5" photo with RGB color, 16-bit, 300 resolution, which is pixels per inch. Then just click Create, and it'll load in this page. So this is your, and you might want to add other things to it. Like first, let's get a picture of some dogs, but you're like, oh, well, I kind of wanted it on my thing, so it's easy. But you're like, oh, I only want the dogs. So to start, zoom in, which you take 2 fingers, hold the Alt button, and zoom in on your if you have a mouse on the scroll wheel. If you're on a touch pad, 2 fingers on the touchpad. So all you're gonna do is take this little tool up here, the polygon lasso tool, and if it might look like this when it starts, the lasso tool, and so you just gotta right click on it and then click polygon lasso tool. So all you gotta do is click where you want the thing to start, and then just keep clicking every time you want to move the line again. So I'm not working too hard on this. I'm just doing a really rough outline. I would recommend take more time on this and like get it so you get all the details in there and whatever. But right now I'm just doing a really rough copy. And so once you're finished, which I am right now, you'll see right next to the polygon lasso tool icon, there'll be a little circle, and that means you're ending it. So click it when it looks like that, and then the little trail of what looks like ants will start, and that will start going around, and that means that's the area that's selected. And if you want to take that, you can either press Control-C or Control-X. And I might have screwed that up. So if you mess something up, which you probably will, everybody does, press Control-Z, and it'll undo. So press Control-Z, and now Control-X to cut it, then Control-V to paste it in. And you're like, oh, well, the puppy's cool, but I want to make it bigger. Control-T is what's called free transform, and you can change the size, so you can screw around with it like this, make it bigger like that, whatever you want. And then you might be like, hey, I actually only want this puppy in it. So then you go select, and then just I gotta end it off. Just delete, and you can do a better job. And then if you ever want to just quickly end it off, like you're like, oh, then you just want to quickly end it off, you just double click, and it'll quickly go to the nearest access point to it. Alright, so, and to unselect this, just press enter, or just click elsewhere on the screen, and then if you've created one of these things you don't want, just press enter. So next next you might be like, alright, well, I want some, and just close this and press no, because you don't care about that image. Next you might want some a background for your dog. So you just go open up whatever background image you want. And by the way, I'll be posting these images in the description, so you can download them if you want, or the links to the images, whatever, one of them. Anyway, so to select the whole image, which is what you want, press Control A. And then all you have to do is Control A, then Control C. That selects everything. And then you're like, there you go. And then you can make it bigger, or whatever. Oh, and if you want, one more thing, if you want, you might be, you're like, what is my dog? Well, then you go to all these layers right here in the corner. And then see the puppy is below the galaxy image. Just take the puppy, bring it up, over, and then there you go. And then and you may be like, alright, well, I want to make it bigger again. Like, oh, well, I'm selecting the puppy. I don't want to do that. You're like, how do I select the sky? That's because you're selected on layer 1. So go to layer 2, Control T, and then make it bigger, whatever you want. But you might want to not have it like massive, like this massive thing like that. You might just want it just to fit in there or whatever. So the way you do that is you line it up in a corner, make it as big as you can with this, then hold Shift, and then go up like that. The image will look a bit stretched, but because it's a galaxy, it doesn't make too big of a difference. And now it looks like the puppy, and you can make it look even cooler when you're transforming it. Hold Alt, and then, oh no, sorry, hold Shift, and hit Control, and hold Control, and then take in one of these corners, and the image will tilt. So now it looks like the puppy is traversing across a galaxy, but that doesn't really make sense because the galaxy is a background. So what you gotta do is, you might be like, oh, I want something in the foreground, or in the middle ground. So press Enter again to deselect this. Then you can go to File, open an image of the Earth. And you might be like, oh, I only want the Earth. Then you go, I would just select this whole image first, cut it, well, you don't need to cut it, and then paste it, close this, nope, and then Control T, and then if you want to rotate the image, it's really easy. You just instead of going right there, move your mouse just behind it, and rotate it, and you're like, oh, well, how do I get it to perfectly 90 degrees? I can't get it there. Just type it in right in this top corner. You can type in whatever degree, or not top corner, the middle top area. You can type in what the angle you want, and all kinds of other things. So then you can stretch your image out, so it's like this. Then you might be like, well, I only want just the Earth, not the border, the space that it came with it. Then you take the polygon lasso tool and do a bit of editing. And then you can actually take out you can pretend to take out the whole dog if you want. But because you're not selected that layer, it won't do anything. So let's do a bit better job. And delete. Anyway, moving on. We'll go back to the puppy, move it back. And then you might want to do that cool thing where you did with the galaxy image and make it like tilted. So all you gotta do is this, hold Control, make it like that, and then make the image actually bigger while having it tilted. So now it looks like this dog is traveling like Superman across or next to the earth. And now you start getting into the weird stuff. Well, no. But yeah. So first, what you want to do, you might want to make a puppy look really. You might want the space to be like a different color. So forget about this thing up here. Click, like it's this little like half moon kind of thing right down here, and click hue/saturation. Then just screw around with these colors, get it to whatever you want, make it really, I'd keep the lightness the same, and change up the hue however you want. Might want it like that, and you're like, alright, that's like it like that. And then you want the earth a different color, then you could go to vibrance and make it really, really vibrant. Crank the saturation by a ton. And then you might also want this to change the hue/saturation, then just crank. And remember, because this hue/saturation is above both the earth layer and the space layer, it'll affect both the earth layer and the space layer. So before this, it'll look like this, but because you're also giving it more blue or more red and whatever, you're changing everything and you're cranking everything up, and then the dog doesn't have anything. So then you might want some like filters or something. You click the FX here in the corner and just click any one of these below blending options. Just click bevel and emboss first, and I would actually unclick that. So we might want Satan, which makes it satin, sorry, or inner glow or inner shadow, gradient overlay, well, color overlay, no, pattern overlay maybe, but you can change this by clicking pattern overlay, and you can do opacity and crank it just by a bit. And opacity is how like strong it is, and then you might want it to be a picture of, instead of a tree, some running water. And then excuse me, you might want a shadow. So you go like this. You can, oh no, this is the wrong. So you can really, when you click pattern overlay, you can make it really, really zoomed in. You can zoom it out a bit, zoom it out a lot, zoom it in a bit. I'll keep it like that. Now click on the drop shadow, and you can make this big, massive shadow that the puppy has. You can make it like this, make it, and once you get to a certain point, it might be like going up by 1 pixel at a time or something. It goes up by like 10 pixels, and then see like this right in the middle, it says 50 pixels, but if you go up to here, it's like 100, but then when you go up to here, it's 30,000. So when you get to here, it goes from like 300, and then boom, 8,500. So I just keep it around here, and then you can make it so it's very light, and then you can move him over, which moves the shadow over, and then you might want for him to be a different color. or him to be, him to be a different color. You can make him like, you can crank up the saturation and make it really, really crazy. And then you're like, have I tortured this puppy, this poor puppy enough? Well, now you're torturing the whole image, and you're taking out chunks of it. So, this shows every single part of the image, not just the parts that are in the 5x5 area that you're using. So, you might just want this puppy, the area that the puppy's in, a little bit of space too. And you press enter, and you just got that. And then, so, you're thinking, what else can I do to torture this poor puppy? Well, click on your layer with the puppy. You can go to this opacity slider and make them so you can barely see them. I wouldn't recommend doing that because it takes away all the cool things you put on it, but you could do it like, put it on the earth and make it so you can kind of see through it, which makes it even look weirder. Well, next, you might, and by the way, this background layer, I'd recommend, once you can't delete the background layer once, before you, have another layer, so once you have all these layers, you can just click delete right there, and it'll delete that layer. So next, you might want another image, and you can throw in a picture of a UFO. And just select, and you might be like, it's taking way too long to select all this UFO. Well, there's the quick selection tool right here, and it might be set to the object selection tool or the magic wand tool. Just right click it, click quick selection. So it selects everything of the same color. So for this image, it's all white around the UFO. So you just drag it around, selects everything, and then you're like, well, I don't exactly want all the white. You go to filter, select, and then inverse. And then it'll select the UFO, and you can just Control X, close this image, and then paste it onto here. And I bring this layer to the top so it doesn't get affected by all these colors, and then you can make the UFO a bit smaller, rotate it, give it some more, crank up the saturation even more, and then, and there's one more thing. I'm gonna just, let's do it on the UFO, because that's the only one that's not ruined. I'll zoom in. Wait, no, yeah. So there's the clone stamp tool, and it might be selected to the pattern stamp tool. It's right here. I just right click it, clone stamp tool. So it's this tool. It's this really cool tool that, let's say it's not exactly used for something like this. It's used for, let's say you're just trying to edit out a photo of you, whether you have a milk mustache or something. So you'd hold Alt, and then there's this little like target that comes up, and you click right above where you want your thing to be, and then you gotta click UFO layer. So you click Alt, hold Alt, click on the blue, let's say, and if you go here, it makes it the same layer as what's above it. So it's useful, let's say, if you have a milk mustache or something, or if let's say you have a pimple or something and you just don't want it to be in the image, then you use this. Or if you just want to make tons and tons of layers of the exact same image, then you can also use this. And you can look at this for a while, and you can make it actually look pretty nice with an image that's not a toy UFO, but it's used, the clone stamp tool gets used for a lot of things, but other than that, it's pretty much it for Photoshop. There is the paintbrush tool, which should go not here, right here. It'll be automatically selected, and then you can take it, make it a bit smaller, and then make it green, just what it said at. And you can go like this, and then if you want the paint bucket tool, it'll select everything inside an area. So you can go switch this color to red or pink, and then it'll do all this. And it's just all the hue / saturation things that are just making this a different color. And so other than that, it's pretty much it for Photoshop. Well, not pretty much it. There's a lot of other features, like some of them I don't even know. There's the text feature, which is kind of self-explanatory. You can write hello, and then you just click somewhere else, and you see hello, but you gotta screw around with it to make it bigger. You can make it 72 pixels, and then hello. Then you just, anyway, there's a lot of things you can do. There's this eyedropper tool, so if you want a certain color, you want this really light green, take it, then you got it, and you store it in your paintbrush. So then you can go and paint. Sorry, this is, I'm just gonna press enter. Sorry, anyway, then you go to the paintbrush tool, you can use that eyedropper thing and paint some more. Anyway, then there's the, spot healing tool, which isn't really working. Sorry, it is working. It's just like we can't really use it for this kind of image. It would be used as, if you go like this, spot healing, you use if you have a stain in your shirt and you go over it like that, it's gone. Not that easy, but anyway, then there's also the, what's it called? The rectangular marquee tool, which just selects pieces, and you got the UFO selected. Like, I don't want that in there anymore. You could just take chunks out of it. And then pretty much, that's pretty much it. Like, there's tons of other stuff you can do in Photoshop, but this is the basics. And then there's saving the image. So if you want to save this image to something, so you can use it again, you'll save it as a Photoshop file, which is a default setting. You'll save as type Photoshop, and this is for Windows. On Mac, it should still be, you can save it as Photoshop, and then saving it as a Photoshop file means you can still edit the image. You can you can you can make this layer, the spacey layer, you can give it bevel and emboss, or you can give it a inner glow or a texture. There you go. And that means you can still do that without affecting the rest of the image. But if you just do it, like, if you save it as a JPEG, that means, you can't, if you edit something within the image, it edits it. So think of it like a piece of paper or something, like a big piece of paper, and then all your images are little cutouts of paper, and keep it into the Photoshop file, keeps the little pieces of paper separate, but turn it into a JPEG, slaps them all down where they are, glues them down, can't move them anymore. But I'm just going to save it as a JPEG, or, well, I'm not going to save it, because as much as I love this image, I don't. And look, you can take chunks out of the background. So, but I'm not going to save it, and then all you have to do, and then if you want the file again, just save it, on your computer, and you can go to your documents and make a new folder called Photoshop Images, and save all your Photoshop images in there. But other than that, that's my basic tutorial on how to use Photoshop. Thanks for watching. Bye.